Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're grappling with something huge, really defining for our digital lives.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Can you ethically use a technology that, well, demonstrably saves lives?
Mm-hmm.
If doing that means completely tearing down the walls of private communication, no consent involved.
And it's not just a thought experiment anymore, is it? The sources we've looked at show this kind of tech. It's here.
Exactly. The power to tackle big problems like, say, the mental health crisis.
That is massive.
It exists. But often the price tag seems to be this level of surveillance that honestly sounds pretty dystopian.
It does. It really forces the question.
Right. So our mission today, digging into these sources, is to unpack this scenario. Let's call it the empathetic algorithm.
Okay.
It basically puts the ethics right on the table. If you had an algorithm that could secretly save, I don't know, thousands of lives,
Measurable impact.
would you hit the launch button? Even knowing it needs to spy, basically, on every private chat you have.
That's the crux of it. Public good versus personal autonomy. And to really feel the weight of that choice, we need to start with what this tech actually promises, the sheer potential benefit.
Okay, let's do that. The measurable benefit first. So this algorithm, it wasn't initially designed for, like, spotting dissent or anything sinister.
No, not at all.
It came out of a big social media company just trying to make feeds more engaging, standard stuff.
Right. Optimizing clicks, views.
But its function evolved into something, well, profound. It's engineered to spot users showing early signs, often really subtle signs of depression or severe loneliness, isolation.
And catching those signs early. I mean, in mental health, that's everything, isn't it? Early intervention can change the whole outcome.
Absolutely. And once the algorithm flags someone, and this is crucial, it doesn't send, like, flashing red lights.
No, it's subtle.
It just gently tweaks what that person sees in their feed. Maybe more posts from close friends pop up, or info about community groups, maybe resources for therapy, but presented very softly.
Designed to feel organic. Like the platform is just helping you connect better, not like Big Brother is watching your mood.
Exactly. And here's why it's such a dilemma, right? The sources are clear. This thing works.
It's incredibly successful. The internal data, even anonymized, it's not just a maybe this helps. It shows demonstrable positive effects across huge numbers of people.
So what are we talking about concretely? What does works mean in terms of, actual human suffering?
Well, the impact seems to be twofold based on the data. First, a statistically significant drop in self-reported loneliness. People actually felt less alone after a couple of weeks.
Okay, that sounds...
But second, and this is much more dramatic, the number of system alerts, what the company calls suicide risk flags, went down by a verifiable amount.
Okay, hang on. Suicide risk flags. Let's make sure we understand that. These aren't just someone's opinion, like a moderator thinking this person sounds down.
No, definitely not subjective. A flag is an automated alert. It triggers when a user's behavior patterns, maybe they suddenly stop posting, or their posting times go erratic, or specific language markers show up in, say, public comments.
Things the system can see publicly.
Right. When those patterns match known high-risk models, the system flags it. The fact that this algorithm reduces those flags, well, it strongly suggests it's genuinely lessening severe distress, potentially, saving lives on a large scale.
Wow. That puts an incredible weight on that side of the scale.
It really does.
Faced with a tool that can tangibly stop catastrophic loss, prevent so much pain, the impulse is strong. You almost feel a moral duty to use it.
That's the powerful utilitarian argument, isn't it? The greatest good for the greatest number. Save the lives, reduce the suffering.
But, and there's always a but.
There's a huge but. That good relies entirely on something deeply problematic, a fundamental violation, really. Which brings us to how it works.
Right. This is where the benefit crashes right into the ethical cost. What's the technical requirement here? What's the specific action that creates this massive breach?
Okay, so its success, its accuracy in spotting those early subtle signs that hinges on getting access to the most private data imaginable.
Meaning
the algorithm have to intentionally, actively scan, analyze, and profile the emotional content of users' private messages, direct messages, chats, everything.
So it's not just looking for keywords like, I feel depressed, because that's pretty basic, right? Lots of false positives there.
Oh, absolutely not. If it were just keywords, you could maybe argue it's like an advanced spam filter. No, this is way beyond that.
How so?
It uses really sophisticated natural language processing, NLP, and sentiment analysis. It's picking up on tone, pauses in typing, shifts in how people talk to each other, tiny linguistic markers, things that signal deep emotional states, often before the person themselves is even fully aware of it.
So it's not just reading your words, it's kind of reading your mind through your words.
That's a good way to put it. In essence, yes. And the absolute kicker, the part we can't just gloss over, is that this deep dive into your psyche, this emotional profiling, it happens entirely without your knowledge or explicit consent.
Okay. And that lays out the ethical tightrope perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
The company is, by definition, secretly manipulating users' emotions, their reality, albeit for their own supposed benefit.
Right. Benevolent manipulation.
So you've got this measurable public good helping potentially thousands slammed right up against this profound violation of personal autonomy, treating people like, well, data points to be optimized.
And it forces this impossible choice, doesn't it? Do you launch it, accept the privacy breach to save lives? Or do you block it, protect privacy, but then you know you're letting preventable suffering, even death, continue?
The source material really digs into this, especially that utilitarian angle, the argument being that because the benefit preventing pain, maybe lowering suicide rates, is so clear, so measurable, so now.
Yeah, the immediacy is compelling.
That it just outweighs the more abstract harm of a privacy breach nobody even knows is happening.
And you have to give that argument its due weight. It's not trivial. It's easy to say a hidden privacy violation is less bad than someone losing their life.
Yeah.
But that's a very short-term view, isn't it? We absolutely have to look at the long-term, the systemic costs. What does this do down the road?
Yeah, that's where it gets really thorny. Is there an argument maybe that this is just the next step? That we've already implicitly agreed to tons of tracking just by using these platforms? Is this really that different?
That's a key distinction the sources make, actually. They talk about the difference between, let's say, tracking for desire versus tracking for distress.
Okay, explain that.
Well, when platforms track us now, mostly it's for ads, right? They're trying to figure out what you want, what you might buy.
Yeah.
They manipulate your desires. And we kind of grudgingly maybe accept that as the price of admission online.
Right. The digital trade-off, flawed as it is.
Yeah. But this empathetic algorithm, it's not about manipulating what you want. It's about managing your fundamental emotional state, your grief, your loneliness, your psychological vulnerability.
And that feels different, way more intimate.
Exactly. It's benevolence through surveillance.
Yeah.
And it fundamentally changes the whole relationship between us and the digital world. If we accept that our emotional states need to be profiled for our own good, I mean, where does that stop?
That leads straight into the long-term harm discussion, right?
Precisely.
Does this kind of secret help actually lead to a happier society overall? Or does the slow creep of eroding trust and privacy create a different kind of damage, maybe even a worse one, over time?
We have to think about the chilling effect. The sources bring this up. Even if you personally never know the algorithm is watching your DMs, just the knowledge that such a thing exists, that your private feelings could be scanned and analyzed, that changes how people communicate online. Full stop.
How so?
People start self-censoring. They might hesitate to express vulnerability or anger or complex, messy emotions digitally. Because even subconsciously, there's this fear of being flagged, of having your mental state logged somewhere.
Huh. So instead of making society mentally healthier, you might just make it more emotionally guarded, less authentic online, just to avoid triggering the system.
That's certainly one potential harm. And then there's the other big one, mission creep.
Yeah.
And power.
Meaning?
Okay, right now, let's assume this algorithm is genuinely benevolent. Built by a social media company, aimed at public good. Fine. But what happens to that data? The emotional profiles of millions?
Yeah.
What if it gets sold later? Or repurposed for something else? Or what if governments demand access to it?
Once you establish the principle that private emotional states are okay to monitor for a good reason,
that power is incredibly hard to put back in the box. The trade-off suddenly isn't just save lives now versus abstract privacy. It becomes save lives now versus preserve fundamental freedom later.
And freedom here means the freedom to feel without being watched.
The sanctity of the unmonitored mind, essentially. The sources point out, if we let a company secretly optimize our emotions, we're basically handing them the authority to define what normal or healthy or happy even means.
And that's immense power, unchecked power.
Terrifyingly immense. And how do you even regulate that effectively?
So what does this boil down to for us, the people actually using these platforms day to day? This whole dilemma. It really forces us to decide what we value most in the digital sphere.
It does.
Is it safety and well-being, even if it comes packaged with secret surveillance? Is that the top priority? Or is it the ability to just be, to
Uh,
communicate freely, be vulnerable, even suffer sometimes without being monitored? Is that the core value we can't afford to lose?
it's such a tight balance because, like you said, the benefit side, preventing suffering, you can see that in the data now. It's tangible.
Right.
But the cost, losing that privacy, that autonomy,
Huh?
it's like a slow erosion.
Yeah.
It's invisible, systemic. You might not realize how much you've lost until it's way too late.
Which leaves us, and you listening, with a really difficult question to chew on, doesn't it? When you have measurable reduced suffering today versus this unquantifiable creeping loss of trust and freedom tomorrow,
Yeah.
how do you even begin to set the criteria? Where is the line where manipulation for good becomes just unacceptable control? Because whoever holds the reins of that empathetic algorithm, they're not just tweaking feeds, they're potentially shaping the emotional reality of society itself.